ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
Good afternoon. Let us continue with the alkyl halides. So, preparation of alkyl iodides, halogen exchange method. Halogen exchange method, we call it as Finkelstein method. Right. So, how do you prepare alkyl iodides? So, we take generally, how do you prepare alkyl halides? We take halogen, combine it with alkanes, heat it. But the same method cannot be used to prepare alkyl iodides and alkyl fluorides. I cannot take alkane, combine iodine. You can do it, but the problem is the reaction is highly endothermic in nature. Because of endothermic nature, the yield will be less. So, instead of doing direct iodination, instead of directly iodinating alkanes, right, we follow a different method. So, halogen exchange method, right, halogen exchange method, we take alkyl chloride or alkyl bromide, alkyl chloride or alkyl bromide, heated along with sodium iodide, iodine salt, we take iodine salt in acetone. So, we mix sodium iodide, right, and alkyl chloride or alkyl bromide in acetone solvent. We heat it. So, interchange of halogen takes place, right, interchange of halogen takes place. So, you get alkyl iodide plus NaCl. Now, let us come to the solvent here. Solvent acetone is non-polar, or we can say polar aprotic solvent. So, we will study the meaning of that. Here this is not as polar as water. So, NaCl is insoluble in acetone, whereas NaI is soluble in acetone. So, we use this principle here. Right. So, we take acetone, dissolve sodium iodide, add alkyl iodide. Because of this non-polar part alkyl group, it is soluble to some extent in acetone. So, what is the driving force? See, as NaCl being highly ionic in nature, because of highly ionic nature, Na plus Cl minus, because of highly ionic nature, it is insoluble in this non-polar solvent or less polar solvent. The NaCl precipitates out, it is phased out of acetone. That is the driving force for this reaction, right. So, you can use alkyl bromide also, RBr plus NaI in acetone. Upon heating, you will get Ri plus NaBr. But in between RCl, RBr, which is better reactant? The answer is alkyl chlorides, because NaCl is highly ionic than NaBr. So, NaCl precipitate out or it is phased out, it comes out of the solvent easily compared to NaBr. Therefore, alkyl halides are better substrates. Coming to the next one, right, that is preparation of alkyl fluorides, right, we call it as Schwartz reaction, very important. Now, alkyl fluorides cannot be directly prepared by fluorination. The reason is the reaction is exothermic, highly exothermic. The energy released will cause C-C bond cleavages. So, if I use higher alkanes other than methane, say ethane, propane, butane or any other higher alkanes which have C-C bond, the energy released during fluorination is sufficient enough to break the bond. Because of CC bond breaking, you will get mixture of fluorides. You will not get required alkyl fluoride, but you will get fluorides of lower alkanes. That is why the reaction the direct fluorination is not preferred. Because of high exothermic nature, the energy is sufficient enough to break carbon-carbon bond, giving alkyl fluorides of lower alkane. So how do you prepare? So instead of using direct fluorination, we use weak fluorinating agents. The fluorination is done by weak fluorinating agents like AsF3, arsenic fluoride, SbF3, Hg2F2, COF3. So the use of this weak fluorinating agent is they release less amount of fluorine, so you can control the reaction. So direct fluorination is not done because direct fluorination causes CC bond cleavage. Therefore, we use weak fluorinating agent. So we take some alkyl halide, say ethyl chloride, treat it with some weak fluorinating agent, for example mercury dimonofluoride, Hg2F2. So interchange of halogen takes place, CH3 CH2F plus Hg2Cl2. So this is Schwarz reaction. So alkyl iodides, alkyl fluorides are not directly prepared by combining alkane with respective iodine or fluorine because of the endothermic nature of this reaction, exothermic nature of this reaction. So they are prepared indirectly. Coming to the physical properties of alkyl halides. So the lower members, lower alkyl halides like CH3Cl, CH3Br, C2H5Br, the lower member, the lower alkyl halides, they are mostly gases. But as the number of carbon atom increases, the van der Waals forces of attraction increases, hence their physical state changes to liquid or solids. So higher members are usually liquids or solids due to van der Waals forces of attraction. Coming to the solubilities, they are slightly soluble in water. They are slightly soluble in water because of the alkyl group, the Rx, because of the alkyl group they get non-polar character, right? Because of CX bond they get slight polar character. So lower members may be soluble to some extent in water, but as the size of R group, so if I represent alkyl halide like this R group imparts non-polar nature because it is made up of carbon and hydrogen bonds, whereas the CX bond imparts polar nature, but it is limited, that depends upon the halogen also. Therefore mostly they are polar covalent, mostly covalent, non-polar, so their solubility in water is less. But as the size of the alkyl group increases, the solubility further decreases. They are more soluble in organic solvents, more soluble in organic solvents. So you can understand now the reason, because of the non-polar character. Alkyl group imparts non-polar character, because of which they are more soluble in organic solvents. Coming to the boiling point, generally alkyl iodides have higher boiling point than bromides, than chlorides, than fluorides. This is the order of boiling point. The reason is here the size is more. As the mass increases, size increases. As the size increases, van der Waals forces of attraction increases. So we can blindly say that alkyl iodides have larger surface area, higher intermolecular forces, higher van der Waals forces, therefore their boiling point is higher. So alkyl fluorides have lower boiling points. So this is the boiling point order. Coming to density. So you can follow the same order. Alkyl iodides are more denser than alkyl bromides, than water, than chlorides, than fluorides. So chlorides and fluorides have less density than water. Alkyl iodides, alkyl bromides have more density than water. So mostly they are colorless, they do not possess any color, they are colorless. However, when you take alkyl bromides and alkyl iodides and expose it to light, they may show color because of formation of corresponding halogen. Photochemical dissociation, when exposed to light they dissociate into corresponding higher alkane and iodine. So the color is because of the iodine. Otherwise they are mostly colorless. So coming to the chemical properties. So first let us try to understand the chemical behavior of alkyl halides. So the main reason for the chemical behavior is carbon halogen bond. Carbon halogen bond. So halogen, it can be fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. So here we have carbon. So if I take electron, if I write the electronegativity of fluorine, right? The electronegativity of fluorine is 4, chlorine is 3, bromine is some 2.8, iodine around 2.5. Coming to carbon, it is 2.1 or 2 approximately. So you can see that halogens are more electronegative than carbon. Halogens are more electronegative than carbon. So since halogens are more electronegative, they pull the electron density towards halogen. They pull this electron density more towards halogen, because of which it gains partial negative charge, because it is gaining the electron density. It is pulling the electron density because they are more electronegative elements. More electronegative than carbon. Therefore, they pull this electron density bonded pairs towards halogen, due to which, since they are gaining the electron of carbon also, right, the electron is not completely transferred, but the electron density is more near towards the halogen. That means the electron density is high, therefore it carries partial negative charge. Since carbon being less electronegative element than halogens, less electronegative, it loses its electron share and carries a partial positive charge. So carbon halogen bond, right, is slightly polarized due to difference in the electronegativity, right. Because of this difference, halogen carries partial negative charge, carbon carries partial positive charge. Now here, since carbon carries partial positive charge, it acts as electrophilic center. Electrophilic center, since it carries positive charge. So this electrophilic center means it has tendency to attract negative charge because it is carrying positive charge. So electrophilic center, nothing but it carries partial positive charge. It possesses less electron density and it attracts electron rich species, that is nothing but a nucleophile or some base. Right. So the first factor that explains the chemical behavior is electronegativity difference. Now, as the size of the halogen increases, the electronegativity difference between carbon and halogen decreases. Therefore, the bond polarity also decreases. So we can call the bond as polar covalent, but as the size of the halogen increases, they becomes more and more covalent and less polar due to decrease in the electronegativity difference between carbon and halogens. So this is the first factor, right, that explains the chemical behavior. What is the other factor? Bond energy, Cx bond energy. So I will write the bond energy values here. So all these values are in kilojoules per mole. So slightly it can be, there can be small difference in the numerical values depending upon the book. So CH is 413, CC is 348, CF is 485, CCl is 328, CI is 240, CBr is 276. Right. So what we can conclude by seeing these values? You can see which CX bond has higher energy. CF 485, CCl 328, CBr 276, CI 240. That means you have to supply more energy, this much amount of energy to break carbon fluorine bond. This much amount of energy you have to supply to break carbon chlorine bond. This much amount of energy you have to supply to break carbon bromine bond, and this much amount of energy you have to supply to break carbon iodine bond. That means you have to supply more energy to break carbon fluorine bond than the energy required to break CCl, CBr, CI. That is one point. The second point, I am trying to compare the bond energy of carbon fluorine with carbon hydrogen. If you see, the bond energy of carbonate is 348 kilojoules per mole, carbon hydrogen 413 kilojoules per mole. That means the energy required to break carbon fluorine is greater than the energy required to break carbon hydrogen as well as carbon. So what can I conclude? Although CEF bond appears to be polar, but it is not that much reactive because the energy required is greater than the energy required to break CH and CC. So if I write the order, bond energy order, CF bond energy is greater than, CH greater than, CC greater than, CCl greater than, CBr greater than, CI. So what I can conclude is the alkyl fluoride, right? Which molecule possess carbon fluorine bond? They are called as alkyl fluorides. Alkyl fluorides, or you can say fluorocarbons, they must be chemically and thermodynamically stable. Why? Because you have to supply more energy to break carbon and fluorine. So, alkyl fluorides are less reactive compared to other alkyl halides because its bond energy is greater, even greater than carbon hydrogen bond and carbon carbon bond. So, it is quite stable chemically as well as thermodynamically. Right. So, if I come to these three CCl, CBr, Ci. So, if I compare alkyl chloride, alkyl bromide, alkyl iodides, it is easy to break carbon and iodine bond. Therefore, they must be more reactive than alkyl bromides, than alkyl chlorides. So, this is the order of reactivity between chlorine, bromine and iodine, right. If the bond energy is less, then you have to supply less energy, then they will react. That means order of reactivity is proportional to bond energy here. If bond energy is inversely proportional to bond energy. If bond energy is less, then they can react easily. So, alkyl iodides are more reactive than alkyl bromides than alkyl chlorides. So, that is the second factor, and the third factor is stability of X minus ion, nothing but halide ion. So, when I break carbon halogen bond, if I break this bond, what I will get? Carbon from positive, right, X minus, that is nothing but halide ion. If this is more stable, then it is easy to break the carbon halogen bond. If this is less stable, then it is becomes difficult to break carbon halogen bond. That means if the halide ion is more stable, then that alkyl halide is more reactive. If this is less stable, then the alkyl halide is less reactive. So, how do you understand, explain the stability of halide ion? So, here we take the halogen acids. So, this is the acidic strength order. HI is stronger acid than HBr than HCl. So, this is stronger acid and HF is weaker acid. Already we have studied the reason etc. in 7th group. The corresponding anions I minus, Br minus, Cl minus, F minus. If this is stronger acid, its conjugate base must be weak. Its conjugate base must be weak. Therefore, the conclusion is a stronger acid releases a more stable conjugate base, that is nothing but weaker base. That means I minus is more stable. I minus is more stable than Br minus, than Cl minus, than F minus. So, if I have carbon iodine bond, if I break it, I will get carbocation and I minus. I minus is more stable, that means alkyl iodides are more reactive. If I take carbon fluorine, if I break the bond, I will get F minus. F minus is less stable, that means alkyl fluorides are less reactive. So, combining all these, what I can say that alkyl iodides are more reactive than alkyl bromides, than alkyl chlorides, than alkyl iodides. So, by these three factors, you can explain the chemical behavior of alkyl halides. So, based upon the nature, alkyl halides mainly undergo two types of reactions. They mainly undergo two types of reactions. So, the characteristic reactions are nucleophilic substitution reactions nucleophilic substitution reactions, and the second one is elimination reactions. So the alkyl halides characteristics reactions are nucleophilic substitution reactions and elimination reactions. Right. So let us see first nucleophilic substitution reactions. As the name indicates, a nucleophile replaces the halogen atom So here, what happens in nucleophilic substitution reaction? A nucleophile approaches alkyl halide by donating its lone pair. Right. So it replaces the halogen atom. Nucleophile replaces the halogen atom, right, by sharing its lone pair, sharing its electron pair with alkyl group, right, resulting in the formation of RC nucleophile bond. So simply replacement of halogen atom by the nucleophile. So the nucleophile shares its electron pair to form the covalent bond between carbonyl nucleophile. So this is simple representation of nucleophilic substitution reaction. There are again two types. So nucleophilic substitution reactions are two types. One we call it as SN2 reaction and other we call it as SN1 reaction. So these two represents bimolecular reactions, bimolecular. N stands for nucleophilic, S stands for substitution. Here one stands for unimolecular, N stands for nucleophilic, and S stands for substitution. Bimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction, unimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. In shortcut, SN2, SN1. We will study one by one. So nucleophilic substitution reactions are two types. First one is bimolecular nucleophilic reaction, second one is unimolecular nucleophilic substitution reactions. So the first one is SN2 reaction or bimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. So what we are studying now is nucleophilic substitution reaction. In nucleophilic substitution reaction, we are studying the first type, that is bimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. Next one, bimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. In shortcut, SN2. Right. So let us start the first point. I am taking some nucleophile here. I am taking some alkyl halide. I am writing general representation. So this is some alkyl halide. Say I am writing nucleophile as Nu minus. Nu minus. So what happens? Right. So this is the alkyl halide CHHH CH3X. X is the halogen, Nu is the attacking nucleophile. So here in SN2 mechanism, the attacking nucleophile approaches from backside. It approaches from backside. The attacking nucleophile approaches from backside. Why it approaches? To what it approaches? Here. Already we have studied halogen carries partial negative charge, carbon carries partial positive charge. The nucleophile, which is electron rich species, right, it approaches the electrophilic alpha carbon. The correct word is this is functional group. The immediate carbon we call it as alpha carbon, right. It carries positive charge, therefore electrophilic, electron deficient, electrophilic alpha carbon. The attacking nucleophile approaches electrophilic alpha carbon from back side. It approaches electrophilic alpha carbon from back side. That is the first point. So nucleophile approaches electrophilic alpha carbon from backside or opposite side of halogen or leaving group. So this I will call it as leaving group, no, Lg. That is nothing but halogen. So what is the bond angle between nucleophile, attacking nucleophile and leaving group? That is 180 degrees. Now why is it like that? The halogen is electron rich, it carries negative charge. Nucleophile also carries negative charge. Both are electron rich species. Both are highly electronegative. So there exists repulsion between these species because they carry same charge. So they want to try to avoid each other. They want to be present as far as possible so that the repulsion will be minimum. So when they will be as far as possible if they are at 180 degrees. So the nucleophile attacks the electrophilic carbon from opposite side of leaving group to avoid these repulsions. Right. So that is possible if it approaches at 180 degrees of when it attacks, it has to attack the alpha carbon at an angle of 180 degrees to the leaving group so that there is minimum repulsion. So first point, nucleophile approaches the electrophilic alpha carbon, right, this carbon, this is functional group. The next carbon that is directly attaching to the functional group is nothing but alpha carbon. The alpha carbon carries positive charge, therefore we call it as electrophilic alpha carbon. Why it attacks from back side to the leaving group? Because both carry same charge, they are electron rich species, there exists repulsion. To minimize the repulsion, they will try to be as far as possible. That is possible if they are present at 180 degrees. That is why the nucleophile attacks from the back side, it will not attack from the front side, right. That is the first step. Now, so when the nucleophile approaches, the carbon halogen bond weakens, the carbon halogen bond stretches, right. That means stretches means its length increases. So there exists partial charges, negative charge, positive charge, negative charge. Now the carbon halogen bond is not completely broken. The carbon halogen bond is not completely broken, right. At the same time, that means what do you mean by not broken? The electrons are not completely transferred. The bonded electrons between carbon halogen are not completely transferred to halogen. The bond is not completely cleaved. The nucleophile forms bond, a new bond is formed between nucleophile and electrophilic carbon. As the old bond weakens, because it is stretching, as the old bond weakens, a new bond is formed between nucleophile and carbon, because of which the carbon shows pentavalency in the transition state. It has 5 bonds. These 3 are normal covalent bonds, these 2 are partial bonds. It uses hybridized orbital. The carbon uses hybridized orbital to form these three normal covalent bonds. So what is the hybridization to form this normal covalent bond? It should be sp2, right? But the valency of carbon is pentavalent. So it is pentavalent. Now what about these bonds? It is assumed that carbon uses unhybridized pure p orbital. Carbon uses pure p orbital to form bond with the leaving group as well as nucleophile. Remember, the breaking of the old bond and formation of new bond takes place synchronously. Synchronously means simultaneously or at the same time. So how do you explain this? Some part of the energy required to break carbon halogen bond is provided by the energy released during the new bond formation between carbon and nucleophile. Some part of the energy required to break carbon halogen is provided by the energy released during the new bond formation. To break this old bond, some part of the energy is provided by the new bond that is formed between carbon and nucleophile. That is why the carbon has to show pentavalency. But the hybridization of carbon is sp2. Before the approach of nucleophile, what is the hybridization of this carbon here? It is sp3. So the hybridization changes from sp3 to sp2. The hybridization changes from sp3 to sp2, but the valency is 5. Right. Now, once these partial bonds are formed, the carbon halogen bonds completely cleaved, the breaking takes place and the nucleophile forms a normal bond giving sp3 carbon atom. So, hydrogen. So, again you will get sp3 carbon atom and X minus. So, to show this, I am taking a molecule, a tetrahedral molecule. This is a normal carbon, the black one is carbon, 4 hydrogens, a tetrahedral molecule. The black one is carbon, 4 different bonds. Let us assume 4 different hydrogen atoms, sp3 carbon. Now what happens here is, so here let us take 2 bonds in the same plane. This 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. They are present in the same plane. This is present below and above the plane. So one of them is leaving group. So if I consider this as this carbon, the purple one is carbon, 3 hydrogens, 1, 2, 3 hydrogens. So they are planar, it is planar like this, carbon, hydrogen, 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 right. Now, just to show the difference in the bonds, right, this white color is replaced with purple bond. Say the carbon, this is halogen, the carbon halogen bond stretches and weakens. As it stretches, as it moves, the electrons are not completely or immediately transferred because the bond is not completely cleaved, because some part of the energy must be provided by new bond formation. Now the nucleophile approaches, the red one is the nucleophile, it forms a pentavalent. It forms a pentavalent. So this is partial bond, this is partial bond. These partial bonds are formed by p orbital of the carbon, pure p orbital of the carbon. So carbon actually uses only 3 hybridized orbitals to form bonds with this hydrogen and this hydrogen. So this is pentavalency, these are 2 partial bonds, right, and it attacks from the back side, because if it attacks from the front side, there is repulsion between these two because they carry negative charge. To minimize this repulsion, it has to attack from back side. So you can imagine this one, carbon, hydrogen, 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 this is attacking nucleophile, this is leaving nucleophile. So once the bond is formed, this becomes strengthened. So this is removed, so you will get a tetrahedral molecule, right, a tetrahedral molecule. So like this you will get a tetrahedral molecule. This is nucleophile, carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. So normal sp3 tetrahedral molecule. Right. So once again, the nucleophile attacks from nucleophile approaches or attacks the electrophilic carbon from backside or opposite side of the leaving group at an angle of 180 degrees to decrease the repulsion, because both are electron rich species, and electronegative to decrease the repulsion. So here this bond, the old bond is not completely broken. At the same time the new bond formation begins, because of which carbon has to show pentavalency. But here carbon uses pure p orbital to form these partial bonds. Therefore carbon hybridization is only sp2. The transition state, in transition state carbon, here it shows pentavalency, right? Generally normal valency of carbon is tetravalency, not pentavalency. So this is highly unstable, we call it as transition state. It cannot be isolated. So the bond formation and bond cleavage takes place in the same step. The attack of the nucleophile, bond formation, new bond formation, bond cleavage, everything takes place in single step. Therefore it is a concerted reaction. It is a concerted reaction, single step reaction. Concerted means single step. Everything takes place in only one step. SN2 reaction is a concerted reaction. So bond formation, bond breaking takes place simultaneously or synchronously or at same time in simple language. So if I want to show a simple reaction, say OH minus is the nucleophile, carbon, hydrogen, 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 and say iodine, CH3I. So OH minus attacks the nucleophile. OH minus CH3I. So partial bonds, transition state. So OH and iodine, they form partial bonds. This is CH3. So OH is bonded permanently here, forms a covalent bond. I minus is removed. So if I draw the energy profile diagram, these two are substrates, they possess certain energy. So here the reactants, both OH minus plus CH3, they are reactants, their energy is this much. Reaction path or reaction coordinate, it indicates how the old bonds are broken, how the new bonds are formed. So this is the transition state. So this is transition state. I will write here TS, transition state. So I have to write this molecule here. I am writing simply TS, transition state. So here the last step is the products. So that is CH3OH plus I minus. This is the energy profile diagram. The highest energy is processed by transition state because carbon shows pentavalency, carbon normal valency is only 4.